The massive crystalline chamber of the Galactic Concordat hummed with tension as High Observer Thaurix adjusted his photoreceptors to address the assembled representatives. The ancient living crystal walls pulsed with stored knowledge spanning millions of years, but nothing in their vast archives had prepared them for the situation they now faced. "We have discovered a species unlike any we have encountered before," Thaurix announced, his metallic form reflecting the chamber's ambient light. The holographic display behind him showed images of Earth, sprawling cities, launching rockets, and most concerningly, scenes of rapid technological advancement. Representative Naira of the collective mind leaned forward, her bioluminescent form brightening with interest. "They appear primitive. Their technology is centuries behind even our most basic achievements. Why have you called this emergency session?" Thaurix gestured, and the display shifted to show a time-lapse of human technological development. "What you see as primitive is merely their current state. Observe their rate of advancement." The assembled delegates watched in silence as humanity progressed from simple tools to spaceflight in a fraction of the time it had taken other species. "Impossible," whispered Elder Zix of the Silicon Consciousness, their crystalline matrix flickering with disbelief. "No species can adapt this quickly. It defies all known developmental patterns." "Precisely," Thaurix responded. "Their neural architecture allows for unprecedented creativity and problem-solving abilities. More importantly, they exhibit a unique trait. They become more innovative under pressure. When faced with challenges, instead of retreating or failing, they accelerate their development." In the shadows of the chamber, Ambassador Krell of the Hegemony watched with growing interest. The Hegemony had built their empire through careful manipulation and occasional force, but always following the predictable patterns of species development. "These humans seem to break every rule. We have been monitoring their global information networks," Thaurix continued. "Their entertainment, what they call fiction, shows remarkable predictive capabilities. They imagine technology centuries beyond their current abilities, then work to make them real. They dream of reaching the stars not just as explorers, but as equals to advanced civilizations." Representative Naira's bioluminescence pulsed with concern. "Are you suggesting we make contact? They're clearly not ready for integration into galactic society." "I am suggesting," Thaurix replied carefully, "that we must decide how to approach them before they discover us. Their primitive scanning technology is already detecting anomalies from our observation posts. Within decades, they will achieve faster than light travel. The question isn't whether we should contact them, but how." The chamber erupted in debate. Some argued for immediate quarantine, others for direct intervention. The Silicon Consciousness proposed uploading restrictive protocols into human computer systems to slow their development. The collective mind suggested subtle psychological manipulation through their entertainment channels. Ambassador Krell remained silent, transmitting encrypted data back to the Hegemony's high command. These humans represented both an opportunity and a threat. Their location in an otherwise empty sector of space made them strategically valuable. Their unpredictability made them dangerous. "There is another factor to consider," Thaurix announced, silencing the chamber. "They are fractured politically, yet achieve remarkable cooperation in crisis. Their conflicts, while primitive, show tactical innovation that our military analysts struggle to comprehend. They do not fight as we do, with established patterns and protocols. They improvise." The display showed scenes from human warfare, focusing not on the destruction, but on the rapid development of new technologies and tactics. The delegates watched as humans adapted and evolved their strategies in real time, something unheard of in galactic warfare. "I propose a careful first contact mission," Thaurix concluded. "We must approach them with extreme caution. Their psychological profiles suggest they could become either our greatest allies or our worst nightmare." The vote was taken, and the majority agreed to Thaurix's proposal. As the session ended, Ambassador Krell disconnected from the chamber's neural network and prepared his report to the Hegemony. The humans' unpredictability made them dangerous, yes, but their potential made them valuable. Their location made them vulnerable. Or so he thought. As the delegates departed, Thaurix remained in the chamber, his photoreceptors studying the images of Earth. The humans had a saying that had caught his attention during their monitoring. Necessity is the mother of invention. The Concordat understood necessity. They had built their civilization on careful response to need. But humans seemed to treat necessity not as a mother, but as a challenge, not just responding to needs, but anticipating them, creating them, and ultimately transcending them. They would need to be very careful indeed. The diplomatic vessel Starweaver emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system, its crystalline hull designed to appear both beautiful and non-threatening. First contact specialist Lyra Voss stood on the bridge, her iridescent scales shifting colors with her thoughts as she reviewed the mission parameters one final time. All observation drones report ready, her second-in-command, Junction Master Rawl, announced. The cybernetic implants along his spine pulsed with data streams. The humans' primitive detection systems have already noticed us. Their global communications are chaotic. Lyra had expected this. Unlike most species who achieved unity before reaching for the stars, humans remained divided into nation-states. Their response to the Starweaver's arrival proved just how unusual they were. Instead of panic or aggression, their primary reaction was curiosity. They're broadcasting messages in every conceivable format, Rawl reported, his cybernetics struggling to process the flood of data. Mathematical sequences, electromagnetic pulses, digital signals, and music. His confusion was evident. They're sending us music. Respond with the standard first contact protocols, Lyra ordered, but she was already beginning to realize that standard protocols might not be sufficient for this species. The Concordat's careful plans began unraveling almost immediately. The humans insisted on multiple simultaneous diplomatic channels. While Lyra met with the United Nations Security Council, other human nations demanded their own direct communications. They asked questions no emerging species had ever asked before. Instead of focusing on technology or resources, they wanted to know about art, philosophy, and the subjective experiences of alien species. They're testing us, Lyra realized during her third day of negotiations. Every question is layered with multiple purposes. The humans weren't just gathering information, they were analyzing how the aliens thought. Meanwhile, aboard his flagship Inevitable Dominion, Ambassador Krell received Lyra's increasingly frustrated reports with growing satisfaction. The Hegemony's fleet, hidden in the dark space between systems, was already mobilizing. The diplomatic mission is failing exactly as predicted, he informed his superiors. The humans are too fractious, too unpredictable for peaceful integration. But Krell had made a crucial mistake. What he saw as confusion was actually humanity's greatest strength. While Lyra struggled with official negotiations, humans were learning far more than the Concordat intended to reveal. Dr. Rashid Patel, a quantum physicist in Mumbai, noticed subtle patterns in the Starweaver's energy emissions that suggested new possibilities in field manipulation. A teenage programmer in Lagos spotted recurring sequences in the aliens' communication protocols that hinted at the underlying logic of their computer systems. A material scientist in Santiago began developing theories about the crystalline hull structure. They're not just asking questions, Rawl reported to Lyra, his cybernetics nearly overloading from the constant analysis. They're reverse engineering everything they see. Our translator algorithms, our energy systems, even our cultural responses. They're taking it all apart and putting it back together in ways we never considered. The humans' divided nature, which the Concordat had seen as a weakness, proved to be an unprecedented advantage. With no single authority controlling research and development, thousands of independent groups studied the aliens from different angles, sharing discoveries across global networks that moved too fast for the aliens to monitor effectively. Lyra's final report to the Concordat was troubling. They are not what we expected. They do not think as we do. They do not learn as we do. Every piece of information we share becomes a tool in their hands, transformed into something new. They are not ready for integration into galactic society, not because they are too primitive, but because they are too unpredictable. But it was too late. The hegemony had already made its decision. As the Starweaver prepared to depart, Krell's fleet began its final approach. The humans had revealed too much about themselves, their divided nature, their apparent technological limitations, their strategic vulnerabilities. The hegemony's tacticians were confident that a swift, overwhelming show of force would bring Earth quickly to heel. In her quarters aboard the Starweaver, Lyra composed one final, unofficial message to the Concordat. "We have made a terrible mistake. We believed we were studying them, but they were studying us. We thought we were revealing small, careful pieces of our civilization, but they were learning far more than we intended. Most importantly, we believe their divided nature made them weak. We never considered that their divisions might make them stronger." As the Starweaver entered hyperspace, Earth was already changing. In laboratories and research centers across the globe, humans began adapting what they'd learned. They had seen proof they weren't alone in the universe, and more importantly, they had seen technology they could understand, replicate, and improve. The hegemony's invasion fleet accelerated toward Earth, its commanders confident in their overwhelming technological superiority. They didn't realize they were about to encounter something unprecedented. A species that had spent its entire history adapting to challenges, overcoming limitations, and turning apparent weaknesses into strengths. They were about to learn why High Observer Thalrix's warning should have been heeded. The humans weren't just another emerging species to be guided or controlled. They were something entirely new, a civilization that thrived on challenge, that grew stronger under pressure, and that was about to show the galaxy why underestimating humanity would prove to be the hegemony's greatest mistake. Fleet Commander Daxon stood on the bridge of the hegemony's flagship Indomitable Purpose, watching Earth grow larger in the tactical display. 3,000 warships strong, it was the largest invasion force assembled in recent galactic history. His exoskeleton gleamed under the bridge's harsh lights as he reviewed the battle plan one final time. Local defense forces detected, his tactical officer reported. Primitive orbital platforms, chemical propulsion vessels, and ground-based missile systems. Nothing that could challenge our technology. Daxon's mandibles clicked in what passed for amusement among his species. Send the standard ultimatum. Give them one planetary rotation to surrender and accept integration into the hegemony. The response came faster than expected, from something calling itself the Earth Defense Coalition. It was brief. "We choose to decline. Proceed with caution." The bridge crew chittered at the humans' apparent bravado. Daxon gave the order to begin the invasion. The first wave of hegemony ships entered Earth's orbit, their energy shields easily deflecting the primitive nuclear missiles launched in response. But as they moved to destroy Earth's orbital defenses, something unexpected happened. The primitive orbital platforms suddenly released clouds of what appeared to be metallic dust. The hegemony shields, calibrated to stop energy weapons and solid projectiles, didn't register the clouds as threats. Multiple ships reporting system failures, the tactical officer announced, his previous amusement replaced by confusion. The humans, they've developed some kind of self-replicating nanomachine. It's interfering with our shield generators and consuming our hull material. Before Daxon could respond, a second surprise emerged. Earth's chemical rockets weren't attempting to reach the hegemony ships. Instead, they were detonating at precise distances, creating an expanding field of charged particles that played havoc with their sensors and communication systems. "Launch the ground invasion," Daxon ordered. "Let's see how they handle real combat." Thousands of dropships descended through Earth's atmosphere. As predicted, human aircraft and ground defenses managed to intercept some, but most made it through. What wasn't predicted was the nature of humanity's ground defense. The hegemony's ground forces weren't met by massed armies, but by an endless series of adaptive responses. In Rio de Janeiro, their energy weapons were rendered useless by localized electromagnetic fields, generated by modified power stations. In Dubai, their atmospheric processors were neutralized by a hastily constructed network of climate control devices. In Nairobi, their gravity tanks were disabled by concentrated sonic pulses from repurposed stadium speakers. How are they doing this? Daxon demanded as reports of failures flooded in. Their technology was assessed as primitive. His science officer's appendages trembled as she responded. They're not using advanced technology, Commander. They're using their existing technology in ways our simulations never predicted. They're improvising. The truth began to dawn on Daxon. The humans hadn't needed to match hegemony technology. They just needed to understand it well enough to counter it. During those months of diplomatic contact, while the Concordats' representatives had been frustrated by human unpredictability, the humans had been studying, learning, and preparing. Professor Jin Nakamura, leading the Earth Defense Coalition's technological response team from a bunker beneath Mount Fuji, had realized something crucial about alien technology. Their advancement has made them predictable, she told her international team of scientists and engineers. They've optimized their systems so thoroughly that they've lost the ability to adapt quickly. Every piece of their technology is perfect for its intended purpose, and completely vulnerable to unexpected approaches. The Earth Defense Coalition had prepared accordingly. Instead of trying to match the aliens' advanced technology, they had focused on finding creative ways to disrupt it. When the hegemony ships deployed their point defense systems, they found themselves targeting holographic projections, while actual attacks came from unexpected angles. When they attempted to jam Earth's communications, they discovered humans had already developed a backup network using quantum-entangled particles, technology reverse-engineered from studying the Starweaver's hull. As the first day of invasion stretched into the second, then the third, the hegemony's overwhelming technological advantage began to erode. Human nanomachines spread through their fleet like a virus. Human hackers, having decoded the basic principles of hegemony computer systems, launched increasingly effective cyber attacks, and human scientists, working around the clock, began reverse engineering captured hegemony technology. Daxon faced a choice: commit more forces and risk even greater losses, or withdraw and face the Empire's disappointment. Before he could decide, new contacts appeared on their long-range sensors. "Sir," his tactical officer's voice rose in panic. Detecting multiple ships emerging from FTL. They're human vessels. Somehow they've adapted our own drive technology. The message broadcast from the lead human ship was as brief as their first response. "Your technology is impressive. We've made some improvements. Would you like to discuss surrender terms?" In that moment, Daxon understood why the Concordat had urged caution. The humans hadn't just adapted to invasion. They had treated it as an opportunity to advance. Each challenge had been met with innovation, each setback with new solutions. They didn't think like any species the hegemony had encountered before. As he prepared to give the retreat order, Daxon wondered if the hegemony had finally found something more dangerous than a powerful enemy, a species that grew stronger with every attempt to defeat it. In the aftermath of the failed hegemony invasion, humanity faced a profound revelation. They were no longer alone, and they were no longer safe. But where other species might have retreated in fear, humans saw opportunity. Commander Raj Patel stood on the observation deck of the prototype vessel Prometheus, watching construction drones swarm around what had once been the International Space Station. The orbital shipyard stretched for kilometers, its crystalline scaffolding incorporating both human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology. "Status report," he requested, his neural interface, a hybrid of human biotechnology and adapted hegemony systems, connecting him directly to the ship's systems. "Hull quantum crystallization at 87% efficiency," reported Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her hands dancing over holographic controls. "Better than the hegemony's best. We're not just copying their technology anymore. We're improving it." The Prometheus represented everything that made humanity different. Its design incorporated elements from every major culture on Earth, blending ideas in ways the aliens found impossible to predict. Where hegemony ships were perfect expressions of a single technological philosophy, human vessels were beautiful chaos, hybrid systems that shouldn't work together but somehow did. Meanwhile, deep in the hegemony's territory, Ambassador Krell faced the Dominion Council with news they couldn't comprehend. The humans aren't just defending themselves anymore, he reported, his exoskeleton dark with stress patterns. They're expanding, but not like any expansion we've seen before. The humans hadn't followed the expected pattern of establishing colonies and military outposts. Instead, they made contact with subjugated species throughout hegemony space, sharing their innovations and teaching others how to adapt and improve alien technology. Dr. Tanaka's team had made a crucial discovery studying captured hegemony systems. Their entire civilization is built on technological stagnation. She explained to the Earth Defense Coalition. They haven't needed to innovate for so long that they've lost the ability. Their weapons, while powerful, are unchanged for centuries. Their tactics are coded into AI systems that can't adapt to human unpredictability. The Prometheus demonstrated this philosophy in action. Its quantum crystalline hull, inspired by the Starweaver's design but radically reimagined, could phase shift to avoid enemy fire. Its propulsion system combined hegemony FTL technology with principles borrowed from human theoretical physics, achieving speeds the aliens had deemed impossible. But humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technological, it was ideological. Lieutenant Fatima Hassan, commanding the first diplomatic mission to the Pyraxian worlds, discovered that many species under hegemony control were eager to learn. We don't offer them perfect technology, she reported back to Earth. We offer them the chance to improve, to innovate, to grow. The hegemony's response was predictable. They assembled an even larger fleet, determined to crush the human expansion before it could spread further. What they encountered defied their comprehension. Human ships seemed to operate on principles they couldn't understand, using technologies that appeared to break their laws of physics. Professor Marcus Wong, leading the Quantum Warfare Division, had developed an entirely new approach to space combat. The hegemony thinks in straight lines, he explained to his students, many of them now alien species learning Earth's methods. They see space as a battlefield. We see it as a canvas. The Battle of Proxima Centauri proved his point. When the hegemony fleet arrived, expecting a conventional engagement, they found themselves facing ships that could quantum tunnel through their defenses, weapons that adapted to their countermeasures in real time, and tactics that evolved faster than their strategic AI could analyze. But it was in the aftermath of victory that humanity showed its true nature. Instead of destroying or subjugating the defeated hegemony forces, Earth offered them a choice: adapt or become obsolete. Your civilization is based on the idea that perfection, once achieved, must be maintained, Commander Padal transmitted to the hegemony fleet. We believe perfection is not a destination but a journey. You can join us on that journey, or you can watch your perfect empire crumble under the weight of its own rigidity. The message spread through hegemony space like wildfire. Species that had been stagnant for millennia began to question, to innovate, to change. The rigid hierarchy that had maintained their power began to crumble in the face of something more powerful than any weapon, the concept of continuous improvement. Aboard the Prometheus, Dr. Tanaka's team made another breakthrough. We're not just improving technology, she realized. We're changing how species think about improvement itself. Every civilization we contact begins to evolve in unprecedented ways. The hegemony's nightmare had come true. They hadn't just found a species they couldn't defeat. They had found one that transformed everything it touched, turning their greatest strength, unity and order, into their greatest weakness. Humanity hadn't just beaten them. They had shown the galaxy a different way to exist. 5 years after the Battle of Proxima Centauri, the crystalline chamber of the Galactic Concordat looked very different. High Observer Thaurix surveyed the assembled delegates with his enhanced photoreceptors, noting how much had changed. Among the crystalline beings and energy forms sat human representatives, but more striking were the former hegemony delegates, no longer uniform and rigid, but displaying subtle variations in form and thought that would have been unthinkable before. When we first discovered humanity, Thaurix addressed the chamber. We feared they would destabilize galactic order. We were correct, but not in the way we anticipated. The holographic displays showed scenes from across the galaxy. Former hegemony worlds flourished with new innovations. Species that had been stagnant for millennia were rediscovering their capacity for growth. The rigid hierarchies of the past were giving way to collaborative networks inspired by the human model. Commander Luna Rivera, now serving as Earth's primary representative, stood to speak. The quantum translator she wore, itself a product of human-alien collaboration, conveyed not just her words but the subtle emotions behind them. "We didn't set out to reshape the galaxy," she began. "We simply refused to accept limitations, our own or those imposed by others. In doing so, we discovered something remarkable. The capacity for growth isn't unique to humans. It's a universal constant that many had simply forgotten." The remnants of the hegemony had undergone the most dramatic transformation. After their decisive defeat, their society had faced a choice: adapt or collapse. They chose adaptation, and the results were extraordinary. Their hive mind structure, once focused on maintaining perfection, now served as a network for sharing innovations. Former Ambassador Krell, now leading the Hegemony Innovation Collective, addressed the council. His exoskeleton, once a symbol of rigid conformity, now incorporated unique modifications reflecting personal choice. "We thought we had achieved perfection," he admitted. "Humans showed us that true perfection is the ability to continuously evolve." Professor Wong's quantum warfare theories had evolved into something entirely new: quantum collaboration. The principles that had once been used to phase ships through enemy defenses were now being used to connect civilizations, creating networks of shared knowledge that accelerated progress across all species. Lieutenant Hassan's diplomatic missions had sparked a cultural revolution that rippled through the galaxy. Species that had viewed themselves as completed works began to see themselves as works in progress. The human perspective that challenges were opportunities for growth had transformed not just technology, but consciousness itself. Dr. Tanaka's team had made another discovery that changed everything. The galaxy itself was evolving. The static view of civilization had blinded species to the dynamic nature of the universe. By learning to adapt and grow, they weren't just improving themselves. They were aligning with the fundamental nature of existence. "We are all explorers," Luna told the council, "not just of space, but of possibility. The universe isn't a finished product. It's an ongoing process. And now, neither are we." In Earth's orbital shipyards, new vessels took shape, their designs incorporating ideas from across the galaxy. But they weren't warships anymore. They were exploration vessels, research ships, and diplomatic crafts. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy not as conquerors or defenders, but as catalysts for change. High Observer Thaurix made a final observation to the chamber. The greatest gift humanity brought to the galaxy wasn't their technology or their tactics. It was their perspective, their understanding that growth comes not from achieving perfection, but from the eternal pursuit of improvement. The new galactic order that emerged wasn't dominated by any single species or philosophy. Instead, it was characterized by constant evolution, collaboration, and the understanding that diversity of form, thought, and approach was a source of strength, not weakness. In the vast shipyards orbiting Earth, the Prometheus-class vessel Infinite Horizon prepared for its maiden voyage. Its crew included humans, reformed hegemony members, and representatives from a dozen other species. Its mission was no longer to defend or expand, but to explore and learn. Commander Rivera stood on its bridge, watching the Earth slowly rotate below. The neural interface hummed with the thoughts and innovations of the entire crew, a symphony of different perspectives working in harmony. "Ready for launch," she announced. As the infinite horizon engaged its quantum drive, preparing to explore regions of space no species had yet reached, she reflected on how far they'd all come. The age of stagnation was over. The age of continuous evolution had begun. Somewhere in the vast expanse of space, new species were emerging, destined to discover that the galaxy they would one day reach for was far more wonderful and strange than they could imagine. Thanks to a species that had reminded the stars themselves how to dance, the message humanity had brought to the galaxy would echo through the ages. Perfection isn't a state to be achieved, but a horizon to be chased. And in the chase, we find our true purpose, not to be perfect, but to be perpetually becoming more than we are. As the infinite horizon disappeared into quantum space, its crew united in purpose if not in form. It carried with it humanity's greatest lesson to the galaxy. The end of one story is always the beginning of another, and the greatest adventures are those that have no end.